So at 180, we have two approaches for how we work with both youth leaders and the youth themselves. So first, when working with youth leaders, youth pastors, kind of a few points that we always want to look at and highlight. First would very much be that you guys are on the front lines of what is really happening in the day-to-day lives of all the youth and students that come to your different ministries and youth groups. As a result of that, you see a lot of things firsthand that might make you feel uncomfortable or not know how to handle it, and so that's definitely an area that we have spent time on and wanting to help prepare and equip you in that. A big piece of that would be understanding what is all happening within the lives in 21st century teens. It's very different than what it's been maybe ever before in our history, and so it's important to kind of bridge that gap. We also want to have an environment, I guess we can say, where students are being accepted no matter where they're at in life or what their experiences are. Sometimes that can be really hard, but one of the main pieces that we always look at for that is, can we ask hard questions and can we be prepared for the hard answers? Maybe things that make us feel uncomfortable or not know how to respond, but there's definitely a piece of inviting students into that story, or us being invited in that story, where we can have that conversation. And probably the most important piece in all of this, especially in the ministry component, is, are we able to take those stories and take those experiences and those conversations and then point them towards Jesus and a Christ-centered life so that they can develop further in their faith and just be able to grow spiritually. The second piece we would definitely be looking at is working one-on-one with either youth or with groups of youth. And there are four main components that I personally look at when working with youth specifically. So it would be knowing that they are not alone with their experiences. As you guys probably are well aware, some of these teens are coming from really difficult backgrounds, really difficult experiences. And if we can make them feel like they're not alone. Second would be is very much normalizing the experiences that they're having. A lot of teens are struggling with anxiety and depression, maybe self-harming behaviors. Can we normalize that and make them feel like there's nothing wrong with them? Both of those are very important in being able to shape not only the relationship, but also the dialogues that come in the future. We definitely want to promote a sense of hope, and kind of with that, a sense of belonging, of being able to say, look, there is hope, even though life might be hard now, there's hope in the future, and helping them see that and understand that. And finally, and maybe one of the most important components for the ministry life and what we aim to accomplish, is just letting them know that they are loved. For a lot of teens, they don't know where they're going home to, if anyone's going to be there, if there's going to be food on the table. And if we can shape an environment or an atmosphere where they feel loved and they know they are loved, that will definitely help going forward in terms of what that conversation and dialogue can look like. So you may be asking yourself, well, why is this important and why is this significant now to kind of bring up and talk about? So there's two kind of big pieces to go into that. So the first would be is that, truthfully, never in the history of the world have we been able to talk about mental illness and struggles as it relates to mental illness as freely and openly as what we can today. And it provides a environment where real issues can be talked about in real time without a lot of shame and guilt attached to them. The second piece as to why it's important for teenagers is mainly, and a main focus that I have, is just as it relates to identity development, which truthfully begins when they're teenagers. It starts probably when they're in their early teens, runs through their late 20s maybe, by the time they're fully in a position where their identity is fully developed. But it's significant because damage that takes place when they're teenagers, or even as they're children, impacts them as they get into adulthood. So maybe being bullied or being teased or being abused in some manner happen in their childhood or in their teenage years. It's important that we kind of discuss that, we get in front of it now when they're younger, because when they're adults, it doesn't just magically go away. Sometimes we have that belief that we think, well, they'll grow out of it, or this won't be a big deal when they're older. But it's certainly not uncommon for adults to be struggling with something that was said to them as they were a child, especially things that are hurtful from people that they care about, or that care about them. just in the sense of saying someone's fat or someone's ugly. Those things just don't magically disappear when you reach a certain age. So as we start to talk about identity development and we say, okay, what are your roles? How do you view yourself in terms of self-esteem and self-confidence and self-respect and self-worth? That definitely flows directly into how you feel about yourself. Do you love yourself or do you hate yourself? There's a lot of times that wounds take place when people are younger, when they're children, when they're teenagers, and those wounds leave a pretty big gash. And instead of healthy identity development, it turns into, instead of positive beliefs about yourself, it turns into self-harming behaviors. It turns into depression, it turns into anxiety. And instead of loving yourself, you hate yourself, and that becomes a sense of your identity and how you view yourself as you're going through life. So identity development is an important component and something that we certainly speak a lot about. And we find to be incredibly crucial in just the whole teenage life, and being able to, again, go back to that normalizing, being able to make them feel like what they're experiencing isn't bad, and most importantly in that is just allowing them to feel that they are loved, and that we can work through those negative things that have been said or done to them.